Hey, I'm back. And I know at this point I'm probably just doing this for myself. You know, what I have to say may not get heard yet. And that needs to be okay. Um, but I wanted to say something um, about pattern recognition. I was listening to an interview today with a woman who is a researcher, and she was talking about intuition. She was talking about our ability to expand on our regular five senses. And I know that pattern recognition, from my understanding, is part of what it is that contributes to people's intuition. It's our ability to be able to recognize quick patterns out in the world that maybe other people aren't necessarily aware of or looking for. And one of the things that she was recommending was dance. And that's my religion. I believe that, obviously, when you're dancing, you're working with rhythm, you're working with the music, you are building patterns to create choreography. And I think that it really can help people to expand on their awareness and their ability to recognize patterns in their visual space, but also in their own lives, in their world, in their surroundings, and maybe to be able to recognize patterns that they had been avoiding seeing in the past. I know for me right now, I am dealing with a situation, and I don't know how many people know much about Mercury retrograde. Or it's August 14th, so we just had this crazy period that happens like 3-4 times a year, where Mercury appears by our sight to be going backwards in the sky. And I remember I used to work at a copy store, Kinko's, years and years ago, before it was FedEx Kinko's and then just FedEx. But I worked at Kinko's, and I remember being told about Mercury retrograde because it also seemed to coincide with when all of our equipment would go down, because communication. Mercury has to do with electronics and communication devices, watches, and things like that. And I started to notice that when we had all of our machines with signs on them saying, sorry, it ain't working, we've got somebody coming out to repair it, also happened to coincide with when Mercury was in retrograde, what I had been told about. And so I was like, that's an interesting scenario. Again, a pattern, right? And Mercury retrogrades, this is the first time I've ever heard this before, have to do with words that are associated with re. So reassess, realign, reevaluate, reconnect. It's about things kind of like coming back, things that you've seen before, and watching them come through. Somebody calls you on the phone that you haven't heard from for a long time, or an ex all of a sudden wants to know what you're up to, and you're like, what's this about? And it's an interesting opportunity for pattern recognition, because in my life, with this particular Mercury retrograde, I got to reevaluate a friendship in which I thought I was dealing with somebody who was just like so generous, so kind of heart, like so above and beyond me, like somebody that I kind of had up on a pedestal. Like, that's the kind of person I want to be someday when I've got my crap together. I just got to find out this person really doesn't have their crap together. Really, really did not have my best interests at heart. And what they were actually doing was, to some extent, mirroring me. They were mirroring what they knew that I valued, so that I would continue to show them admiration, respect, and friendship, and make sure that I was contributing and making their life better. But all of a sudden, when they had an opportunity to help me, which they said they would, but it didn't have a bonus in it for them, like there was no gifty at the bottom of the Cracker Jack box for them to get all excited about, they dragged their heels. They did nothing. They let me get to the edge of the precipice where stress couldn't get much higher for me, and they used it as an opportunity to control the situation and put me into some real financial duress. And I was really shocked by this. I had not expected this. Not from this person. But as it's been a time to go back and reassess things, all of a sudden I was going back and listening to things that they had said in the past that made me kind of go, that always did bother me that they said that. How could that be interpreted as anything but hurtful? Why would they poo-poo something that I was so excited about? Why would they minimize a situation in my past that I was going through, that I really could have used some, at least some, emotional support in, And it's not big moments, these little moments that begin to build this interesting pattern, right? And now I can see it for what it is. It's still stressful. And now I have to separate from that person completely in a way that doesn't create more stress for me than what I can handle. But it was a lesson that I needed to learn. It was a pattern that I needed to recognize. And it is one of those things where all I can do is realize it, no longer ignore it, move past it, release that person from my life, and thank them for the lesson, because it's a big one. But it also lets me know that I am being set up for bigger experiences in which I'm going to have to be able to trust myself with bigger responsibilities, and where I can not ignore patterns, where I can acknowledge patterns, use it as an opportunity to surround myself with people that are worthy, kick the little devils out, and move on, put myself and the people around me in a better place. So, pattern recognition. Be paying attention, because like I've said in the past, nobody's coming to save us. We're going to have to be watching for things, signs and symbols, so that we can take care of ourselves better. All right. Peace out.